Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lifestyle with Dr. Moby. I'm Dr. Moby, and today we have great guests with us. Let's welcome Amanda Love from Arizona. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, great. So, Amanda, I want to ask you, and also we'll continue our conversation, but for audience sake, we'll introduce Amanda. She herself has a lot of experience dealing with fibromyalgia and holistic medicine. She's practicing in holistic medicine, right?
It's not holistic medicine, it's just holistic.
Holistic. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a little bit. How did you start your journey?
Yeah, so my journey started, I was very young. I was born 6 weeks early. And for me, I was sick pretty much every week from 7 to 14 years old. And eventually I did personal training when I was 19 years old after high school. And then I turned 20 in January, like 2 weeks later. Pain, I mean, out of bed, I was in pain, I was so fatigued. And I had been dealing with like immune issues my whole life and stuff. And eventually I went to a rheumatologist about 10 months later in October of that year. And they diagnosed me with fibromyalgia, but that was that was the gist of it pretty much. They just said, you could do the medication. I did the medication for like 2 days. I felt horrible. And then the other suggestion was physical therapy. And I'd I've never been overweight. I've been always active, everything. And so I did the swimming, I did the weight training, and a year before I just completed that personal training program, which was 500 hours in like 6 months. And for me personally, I couldn't do that, like anything like that physical anymore. And it would just completely wipe me out. And the only thing they really were like, well, there's a pain, like right next door, there was a physical therapy, there was a pain management thing. And so we asked the rheumatologist and they said, sure. And then what pain management was, they would shoot this huge needle into all the trigger points. And if you were, you would be awake, right? So the blood sugar would crash, everything would crash, and you would have to have juice, cookies to raise it. And then I would come out bawling, crying. I was in so much pain. I spent probably 2 years. I was 2 years of just crying all the time. And so I didn't stay with the rheumatologist for very long. And eventually in 2011, my grandmother found a newspaper clipping, said wellness talk by a wellness chiropractor 10 minutes away in Gilbert, Arizona. And he said to my grandmother, well, if your granddaughter is only 20 and she's been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, she's been very, very sick for a long time. He didn't know my history. He didn't know anything else about me. And so that really, I spent 8 months working with him. And I found out I had 2 genes predisposed me to gluten sensitivity, the highest in his practice at the time, from both sets of parents. I had a soy sensitivity, egg sensitivity, dairy sensitivity. And I tell people, it takes time. It takes time for your body to get back. And I did do other things after that. But your journey is yours, but you have to take action and you have to keep looking for answers.
Now that is very inspiring. And also tell me a little bit, so for audience sake, those who don't know about fibromyalgia, they might have heard the name, like a lot of people. So tell us what things they should be looking if somebody thinks or they're worried about fibromyalgia.
Yeah, I always say, with fibromyalgia, I did they also did like x-rays, because I was in so much pain at one point, and to see what was going on with my body and stuff. But I always tell people, if you really, really have fibromyalgia, you can't get out of bed. You're in so much pain. It's not a pain that goes away. It's excruciating pain. I remember I couldn't even take a shower. I was in so much pain. I was so fatigued. I would have super bad headaches every single day.
Mhm.
Um, I always tell people your whole body hurts, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's like you can't, somebody can't even give you like a hug. Like I remember people even touching my neck, my back. I would like tense up and it would be, I was so much pain. Um, Sleep's a big thing. If you're not falling asleep, staying asleep, you feel like a truck has hit you. And it has to be continuous. It can't be something like, oh, just it happens once in a while, because once in a while we all struggle with sleep, or we once in a while we all
Mhm.
are fatigued, or once in a while we're all just run down if we don't take care of ourselves, right? So
Yep. So some of the I would for audience sake who wants to learn, they can check of course the medical websites to learn more about that, and you can always check National Institute of Health. But for everybody else, we can also tell that there are 3 million or more cases right now, and that's a lot of cases. And some of the most common symptoms there could be tender spots, a lot of tenderness,
yeah,
and those are the spots which American Academy of Rheumatology has published criteria. They put pressure on that and produces a lot of pain. So it can be a lot on your back, on your buttock areas,
yeah,
on your leg,
it's
and
your whole body. Yeah,
yeah, whole body. They have the criterias, and
yeah,
then it can, of course, be accompanied by fatigue and also altered sleep, memory, and mood. All these could be affected by that, and of course, you need a medical diagnosis to come up with, not Dr. Google, but medical
right.
a medical practitioner kind of. So some of the effects which people have is they could have GI side effects too.
Yeah,
They could have nausea, vomiting, passing a lot of gas, moodiness. Of course, we talk a little bit cognitively, concentration, forgetfulness, and they can have pins and needles also. Sometimes, not a lot, but sometimes they do. A lot of stiffness also in the joint, and for females, they could have a problem with their periods, really painful periods, and that can be
well,
part of it. So that is for sure. And then question is, what to do for that. And you have a great point actually, is that uh, when you see your provider, important thing is always to make sure that other things which mimic that are not, and those we have to differential diagnose it. And people could have actually rheumatoid too, and all other things.
yeah,
Um,
and then the side effects of medications too.
and side effect exactly. So those are a lot of things we want to make sure those are separated, and those which have a genuine problem, then you need. What I mean is that they do a blood test. Let's say if somebody finds they have a rheumatoid, or they have Lyme's disease, or they have something,
Right.
then they, of course they would treat that. For fibromyalgia treatment in medicine, of course, is we have some medications, pain medication help, and trigger point injections, which you referred to. But I think it's important point is that what everybody else will do, or a lot of people out there, and not everybody will get benefit from these traditional approaches. So what are the options? And I think you brought a great point about holistics. And so tell me a little bit about now that. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I find people, we don't go far enough, like with our nutrition.
Mhm.
If you, I think with gluten free, if you're gonna go gluten free, you have to go gluten free for at least 4 to 6 weeks or longer. And I always say to people, one molecule of gluten can stay your body up to weeks, up to months. So you really you can't cheat, and I think people don't realize that right now. It's
Hmm.
the big thing is to go gluten free if you're gonna, and people only do it for like a week. And gluten free is great, but then I don't think everybody thinks about, oh, maybe you need to go dairy free.
Hmm.
I think congestion, a lot of immune issues. I was always having sore throats with and
Hmm.
stuff. And I think we don't think about soy, we don't think about eggs, we don't think about all these other food groups. Maybe we just do the gluten free.
Hmm. Okay.
And your your body's gonna know when it's gonna be like, well, you're feeding me these bad things, then I'm not gonna feel good. Right. So
Hmm.
you have to be willing to try something different and be able to stick with it.
Hmm.
And it's hard. And sometimes for people, it's hard to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and but I think it's a good thing to. A lot of my experience with gluten is that not everybody will meet the criteria of celiac disease or
Well, no,
and then there are a lot of people who have subclinical where you stop the gluten and then you feel a lot better, and then like you have a great point, stop it for at least 8 weeks or more.
yeah,
So.
I I've been off of it for like mine was so high. So it'll be like 10 years in
Wow.
this. Yeah. I've tried eggs. I haven't felt good with eggs and stuff. Dairy's okay, but I mean, mine were so high that I'm not really I feel good without them, so I'm not willing to like put them back in, and I don't feel like I need them.
And then we talk about some of the treatments where we talk a little bit and also about sleep. So there's a very interesting phenomena happening when we do these sleep studies on them is they have a kind of unique pattern we call alpha delta sleep, where alpha is awake and delta is deep sleep. So they are kind of in the deep sleep have these waves where they're kind of waking up, or they have a lot of these waking up. So and it can have other disorder like sleep apnea with it. So, and if that is the case, then of course we treat it depending on what the problem is. But going back to your also other therapies which are you can tell your experience, uh, acupuncture, cupping. Have you tried any of those?
Yeah, I did. I didn't do cupping.
Mhm.
I did do acupuncture, and that didn't do anything.
Okay.
I
And
did that after I did the wellness chiropractor, and because I was still dealing with like immune issues and stuff. But yeah, I didn't see anything when I did it.
so you didn't see any benefit from it. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. But there are medication to Neurontin is good, and then Lyrica, and then we have other amitriptyline.
Right.
And any good experience with any of the?
Um, no, not really.
No.
Yeah, no,
So
I haven't like I think my body was like my body just needed it took several years for my body just to like it had been so sick for so long that
mhm,
it took time for my body just to heal,
mhm.
even though I did try a bunch of different things.
And that's important thing is to you
Right.
try things, and we are all unique genetic
Yeah.
form, yeah. And
Yeah. I did vitamin shots at one point also.
and did that help?
Um, I don't think it did too much. It's hard. It's one of those things where it gets pretty expensive.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't think it did too much for me.
Okay. So tell me some of the things which helped you.
Uh,
So
yeah.
So one thing you said, avoiding gluten helped you a little bit, right? And then what else? How did you improve your sleep?
So with the sleep, was there's a great product called 5-HTP that helps like with your raising your serotonin levels, and that was great. There's a great product that I still take this product. And I actually found out about it in a book, which is Doctor's Best D-Ribose, which actually helps with fatigue and pain and stuff like that. But I think it's the biggest thing I tell people is staying off of food, honestly.
Mm,
And then supplements are great, but they're not. I say if your food's not good, you need to start with the food first before the supplements. The
okay.
supplements are an add-on.
Okay. And then comes to the also important question about pain. So the pain management, what helped you with that?
Oh gosh, I only did 2 treatments, and I was supposed to do 3. I came out. So this is almost been. I think it's been 10 years, 11 years. I can't remember. And it wasn't meant to do anything for me. I was crying, bawling, crying all the time with those just with 2 treatments. And I'm sort of the person that is like, well, if I'm not going to continue something if something's not working, right?
Mm,
It's just how I am.
mm. So, and that is true. So, it's like we all are genetically unique, and
Yeah,
something
they're
will,
different. We're all
yeah,
different,
and some treatment might work for you, some might not work for me. So
right?
same thing. But that's but there's no harm in trying it. If it doesn't work, stop it. You don't need to continue
Yeah,
forever and ever.
I
uh,
think I think that's the main message people should hear if they don't get anything from this interview is that if something's not working, don't keep doing it over and over again.
and don't lose hope that there's no other treatment, because
Right. Don't.
some other treatment which might not work for anyone might work for you. But so there are, like we are all unique, so.
Yeah. And we're all I think people think one I always say one just because something worked for your friend, your family member, and you have the same health issues doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You have a different body. You're a different age.
Mhm.
You probably have a different lifestyle than that person. You probably eat differently than that person too. So it's not a one size fits all, and people need to realize that.
That's a good point. So also tell me, how did you manage with your fatigue?
Oh yeah, the fatigue. As soon as I got rid of the foods, my energy went up. The doctor's best ribose helps with energy also. I always say to people, look, I'm always working on myself, right? I say, I used to be like a -0. I couldn't get off the couch. I couldn't take a shower. I was in so much pain. I would barely get out of the house. And now I would say I'm an 8 to 9. So, out of 10, right?
Mhm.
But um, I think people need to realize you can gain back your health. It's just it might take time. And especially if you've been dealing with health issues for like 10, 20, 30, 40 years, you can't expect your body to just like bounce back.
And that is important, that it might take a little bit time, but your body has amazing ability to come
Yeah,
back.
it's amazing. And your bodies can get better, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah. So also tell me some of the resources anybody who has fibromyalgia or chronic pain can benefit.
Yeah. So I think what you need, so I have my own podcast, and that's a resource right in itself, right?
Yeah.
Because I find so I did so I'm it'll be 2 years in May, and for me personally, I started this. I was like, well, there's not any podcasts out there with fibromyalgia. There's a few now,
Mm,
and I was like, there's only one-off conversations,
mm,
and I feel like people need to know. And I've been weekly for the last 7 months, but there is hope, right? And there is, you have to, if my story inspires you, that's great. If I have guests who have inspiring stories also, but it's a journey and you have to start with one thing. Don't overwhelm yourself. So if your sleep is the big thing, right? I think sleep should be your number one thing that you should focus on. And that's why I have a sleep episode. And that's why I have a sleep guide for those with fibromyalgia. And that's just a free resource on my website because you need to start somewhere and it needs to be a baby step.
and that. So tell me about your website so I can show people.
Yeah. So my website is Amanda Elise Love. It's my full name.
And then,
And yeah, it's a I have that sleep guide right on the homepage, and you get a link to the podcast like once a week because I do new episodes every Sunday.
so is it amandalove.com?
It's Amanda Lise. It's
Oh,
Elise.
Amanda Lise Lease
Yeah,
dot
love.com.
oh Lease Love dot okay Lease dot com. I'll show them right now. Oh, it says Amanda Lease Love dot com. Oh, it says cannot reach. Did I misspell your name? Okay. Well, is Amanda Lee's is it EL or is there a LISE?
Elise.
Okay, that's why. E- Amanda LISE.com, and so I'm going to have bring that in for people right now. Share the screen so they can check it themselves. So also any final thoughts or final message you would have?
Yeah. So my final message is um, don't give up. Right? You need to get going with your journey, or you need to keep continuing with your journey. And the biggest thing is there are answers out there. So, I mean, if you want to reach out to me, that's great, or sign up for that sleep guide, or find, or just be start listening to the podcast, which is Fibromyalgia Real Solutions with Amanda Love, because you have to get to a point where you're tired of being sick and tired and you want to feel better because you have a purpose in this world and it's not to be sick and tired.
And that is great that you are also nutrition health coaching. You do that too, right?
Yeah, I'm a nutritionist. Yeah.
Okay, great. So people who wants to check our website and podcast, do it's important topic. A lot of people will benefit, and it is not just fibromyalgia. A lot of things you can also apply to other similar conditions, chronic pain, even
Right.
chronic Lyme. So those are will be helpful. Because I think they all share. Now you have a beautiful dogs there in the picture.
Thank you. Yeah,
I
that picture is like 4 or 5 years old.
okay, okay, that's really nice. Okay, well, thank you for coming to our show. It was great learning a lot of your journey as well as it's very inspiring and a lot of good tips for a lot of us. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. Take care.